Welcome to this episode of Unstoppable Journeys. My name is Ryan Gubick, founder and personal CFO with MRG Wealth, and I'd like to introduce you to a special guest today, Mo Aladin, founder of Pure Guidance.
Yes.
Welcome, Mo.
Thank you, Ryan. I'm excited to be here. It's really fun to have a chat with you and talk about stuff.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah.
We were having a conversation earlier about kind of the problem you solved. It was a really unique, interesting problem because I think a lot of us have it.
Yep.
And you were mentioning the problem is really us.
Yes.
Can you dive into a bit about, what is the problem? What is us?
Yes. So I think part of the problem is we're mostly in our own way of getting things done, and we all have insecurities, things that we want to deal with, and the problem we're trying to solve is a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs and want to start their own business and all that stuff, and it's not for everybody, as you know, right? Right? And the problem we're trying to solve is really helping them, because a guy who's coming to the second half or third half or last 9 innings or whatever of my life, I'm here to share what I've learned through my challenges and through an entrepreneurship process and all that. And really the problem we're trying to solve is to make a little bit road easier. It's not going to be easy, as you know, but a little bit later, because you're trying to solve some of the issues that you go, okay, and if you can call people to say, here's some of the things that you should be thinking about, and not get trapped into doing some of those things. And that's the problem. Pure Guidance, which is a group of 4 of us that we started, our niche is very much helping startups who have an amazing idea and flushing the idea, making sure that the idea is wonderful, and it's marketable. Not all ideas are great. Not ideas are marketable. They may be great ideas, but can I make money on it? Right, is the other thing, right? So how do I make it viable? Make it viable, right? How do I make it viable, right? So,
do you ever run into challenges where you have a entrepreneur or a business owner that's the visionary?
Yes.
Super passionate about what they want to do, but maybe lacking some of those other core business aspects like sales, marketing, finance, all the other components to make it viable?
Right. Which it's a great question. The answer really is in this book called E-Myth, which I think you and I chat about.
Absolutely.
We just love this book. But you're absolutely right. The visionary is the woman or the man who's got all these great ideas, but you got to need somebody to take the money to the bank and make this thing work, right? You can sit there and say, hey, I've got this great idea, but you need the people and the horses to be able to do that. You just can't be curating new ideas. You got to take some of those ideas home and bring it to market. And so what we have helped the companies is that you say, hey, and we've done both. We have taken a guy who's just an operation guy, had a good idea, but needs a CEO to drive the train now, right? So we've actually done sometimes the opposite, where you bring the guy who's the visionary and say, let's get this guy's great little idea and see if we can expand it. But you're absolutely right, is that you bring in somebody else that says, okay, here's a co-founder who's going to help you put that idea into practice, into place, and really do all the hard sledding that needs to be done to put this idea forward, right? And that's a very common thing. Is sometimes I get trapped into my own, because I'm a creative kind of an individual, and sometimes you get trapped into this. Oh, I just want to be creative. I really don't want to do that. And obviously, COVID really kicked the teeth out. We had to all pick up our bootstraps and get into the engine room and start doing, not just have this great ideas going all the time, right? So we definitely have that thing that we need to talk to entrepreneurs about and say, listen, vision's one thing, but how do I get it to market? Whether it's a CEO or whether it's somebody, operational person, to make this thing go, right? So,
absolutely. And we do very similar on kind of the personal journey with people, because quite often people are, a state of life where they are, and they want to be somewhere down the low and have a different lifestyle or a different life or different goals and ambitions. And it's the structure and strategy and system in between.
Right.
To get, how do you get from where you are to where you want to be?
Right. And this is one of my people I work for. His name was Ron Magruder. And Ron was responsible for 10,000 restaurants across the world.
Wow.
Like, this was the dude. So he was actually my boss for a very short term, about a year. And he told me, he said, at that time I was in the restaurant space, building a restaurant brand and stuff like that. And he said, Mo, the restaurant business is very simple, and you're going to like this. He goes, there's only 3 things you need to worry about. I'm thinking about guest experience, like all these things are in my mind. It's like, okay, what is he going to say? He goes, hot food hot, cold food cold, money in the bank. Right?
Absolutely.
And I went, that's it. He goes, that's it. That's the job. Hot food hot, cold food cold, money in the bank. Okay. And he said, if you figure out that that's the only thing you need to worry about in the restaurant business and make all those things happen, and then they create the experience around that, right?
That's a really good point. Because I think sometimes we overcomplicate almost everything in our lives.
Everything.
And we need to boil it back down as like, hey, what are the core principles? What are the core pieces of success that we're looking for?
Right.
So what made you want to start Pure Guidance? Like, what made you want to go down this journey? And tell us a bit about your story.
Yeah, so our story is very simple. I did a restaurant brand. We had 11 restaurants. And that was my plan was not to be in the restaurant business the whole time. We wanted to buy a business, blow it up. But several things in Alberta changed part of that economics, whether it's, oil prices going up and down. And so we had to rethink about what we're doing. And then COVID hits. And your restaurant business and the airline business are the worst two businesses you wanted to be in. And so I chose one of those and figure out, okay, what's the next steps? Like my partner and I decided that we're going to be selling these restaurants pre-COVID anyways, to move on to our second place life. And so me and a gentleman named Jade got together and said, what's your plan, Mo? What are you doing after this? Like, what's the plan? I said, well, I don't know. Let's talk about it because I'd love to help people. Like, I'm a trainer at heart and a people person at heart. And what are we going to do? He goes, why don't you and I come up with this notion of what he wanted to call Pure Guidance, and it is to help young entrepreneurs get their stuff together and making sure that it happens. So that's how it kind of started that process. And we just chatted and say, okay, how do you think it's going to work? And I said, and he came up with, Jade came up with a very simple line. It says, purpose before profit. Right?
I like that.
And so that we says, Mo, as long as you and I believe in that's purpose before profit. And let's work on that model. So the clients that we have, it's not about the money that we're making from them. It's about what is their purpose? Do we believe in their purpose? Do we believe in that leader? And money will come to them. And our goal first is for them to make money. And that is what we want to do, is just say, hey, how do we get them to make money, right? We'll be compensated, whether it's down the road, whatever it is, but we're going to get compensated. So whether it's first little while is just having conversation with them. When they're fleshing out the ideas, they don't know what they want to do. So we just have conversation. It doesn't cost them money. It doesn't cost me anything to have a coffee with somebody, and just have conversation. And then as they get better and better and their idea gets fleshed out, then they engage us. And then we added 2 more people, Kyle and Pete. We all come from different set of experiences. We all have run a business, all have a brand, all have a special swath of what we do, and we help them through that.
Well, that's really interesting too. So you mentioned you had 4 business partners. So does each business partner have like a different specialization or strength set in business?
Correct.
Powerhouse.
Yeah, exactly. So we just said, okay, and again, but we all have input on everybody else's things. What we don't do, like most consultant, we don't take something off the shelf and say, oh, here you go, put your name on it. Here, follow these steps. We don't do that. We argue with the CEO, the founder, in the room with us. So I may say something, and they may say, one of our other founders will say, no, I disagree with you, Mo. We have that argument because we want that dynamics in there. Because I don't want them the CEO go, oh, yeah, I like it. I want another viewpoint. I want his viewpoint. I want her viewpoint, right? I want that kind of dynamic set of things going on, so that it becomes a better model, right?
And that's so important and valuable. What you just said there. I think so often we get caught in groupthink.
Correct.
Right? There's one person that maybe is more loud spoken or a little more experienced in that area, and it's like, okay, we think we should do that, and then you have a few people that might not be as confident or sure where to go. And you're like, yes. But the outcome is usually nowhere near as what it could be when you have the constructive debate on, okay, why do you like that? Tell me why. And, here's a thought I have. How can we collaborate and build all these in?
Correct. And it's very, very much that Chinese philosophy of 6 whys and 7 hats of different thinking, so that you can get that better solution out of that. Because one of the worst things you do, especially in, where, like you said, with the group think in the corporate world, when I was on the corporate side of it, that is exactly what always happening. The loudest person or the most senior-most person made the opinion. Everybody went, yeah, that's great, really great, we love it. In your back mind, it stunted your notion of, hey, wait a second, I'm not sure if that's the greatest idea. I'm not sure. And because you were junior, or whether you don't have the confidence to say, hey, you know what, I disagree with that. I disagree with that. And that's what we want to bring to the front. There's only been one incident, to be honest with you, Ryan, where we've had to go to the founder and to the client of ours and say, okay, you make a decision. Got two different viewpoints. What do you think is right? Right? Because we just and then he went, oh, okay. I said, and that was the only time we'd say. Other time, it's just like, hey, that's good. I like that part of it. I like this part of this. So we come up with a better solution to do that.
Yeah,
right?
mold it into ideal
right?
state.
Yeah. So that's what we're trying to do with these really great entrepreneurs, is just to give them a hand. And I know you're a fractional CFO for lots of businesses, and so we're a fractional team for them. So whether they run into a problem, whether it's HR people related, whether it's systems related, whether it's sales related, marketing related, they have a team to go to and say, okay, guys, here's my challenge. And oftentimes the first thing we do is we cut out all the stuff that they're spending money on. We just go, why are you spending all this money on all this stuff that is giving you no rewards? Some marketing person or somebody told you that, oh, you need to spend X amount on social media and you do that. Say, okay, but what is that doing for? Show us results. And we had interesting story. We had a review with one of our company's marketing team, and we said, show us the statistic for what he has spent over the last 2 years and what the ROI is. And they said, well, it's marketing, it's brand building, it's this, it's no,
a black box.
It's a black box. It's it's not as so. Well, tell me whatever metrics you have, clickbait, clicks.
Yeah.
Tell me what
are you tracking?
Yeah, what are you tracking? What's and it's like, oh my God, it was quite an operating for everybody. It's like, oh no. So unless there's an accountability, which is one of the other things that we put into place right away, is we have tough conversations with the founder. We say, hey, we're going to put a lot of accountability on you, right? And we're going to put your feet to the fire. If you can't do this, you don't need us, right? So we're going to put KPIs, metrics to say, okay, are we doing a good job and are you doing a good job, right? And how are we going to measure success? And
that piece right there is so important. If you're not measuring it, how do you know if you're on track or off track?
Exactly, and yeah, just because we don't want to waste people's money and time, right? Because we go, well, you know what, I don't need to waste people's time and say, oh, we love hanging out with you guys, we love talking to you guys, but
time's one of the most precious assets. Right. No matter where you are at life or how much money someone has, you can never buy more time.
No, can't buy more time.
Right. So you got to be very distinct with.
Yep.
Can you share a bit more on the solution that you and Peer Guidance and your partners developed for these individuals? So they have the challenge and the problem. They're not sure how to move forward.
Yeah.
And you have your kind of 4 business partners, but love to learn a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So the process is very simple. First of all, we want to do a business plan for them, and that includes all aspects of financial plan, who the ideal customer is, what is your value system, what's your marketing idea. What's your sales focus? So we go through each of the things and we create a little bucket. A lot of them have that work done with some marketing people, but we cull it a little bit more. We refine it, sharpen it, making sure that it hits all the nodes and it's not too broad. It's narrowly focused.
And realistic.
And realistic.
Sometimes
correct.
You ever see business plans that might be a little more optimistic than realistic?
Correct. And then we create, obviously, a SWOT analysis part of that whole process, right? What is this? We also have that tough conversation. Is it expandable, or is it just a one business opportunity that can make you some good money and it's not expandable? So we have those kind of things. So when we chunk through all that stuff with every component of that, including a potential pro forma. We do. I walk them through how to read a P&L, and you wouldn't be surprised that a lot of these guys have no idea what a P&L is or how to read a P&L because they let the accountant trust the accountant to do it. And if it's a good one like you, they trust it, right? Right.
When people get nervous, I find one of the biggest things is there's no silly question. I think when we teach kids that, right? Like in kindergarten, grade 2, it's like if you have a question, likely 10 other people have the question.
Correct.
But then we turn into adults, and I see it all the time. So I'm a personal CFO for families and individuals. I see it all the time where it's once they get comfortable and they start asking these questions, and in a safe compound room with the trust, and we're like, okay, let's really simplify. What is an income statement? What is a balance sheet? What is a net worth statement? Like, what is your investment statement even? Like, many people, they look at this 10-page investment statement, and you're like, okay, I know what the value is, and the rest of it's just noise. So it's asking those questions. It's great that you're able to provide that to the business owners to simplify.
So I'm the guy in between you and the accountant, me and the accountant. So the founder and the accountant. So I'm going to say, ask me the dumb question, and I will tell you to ask the really tough questions to your accountant. So you and I, it's a safe zone with me. I'm not an accountant, but you can ask all those questions. And the other one is, funniest thing is like, I said, are you making money? Oh yeah, we have money in the bank. I said, well, that's not making money. That doesn't mean a thing, right? It's like, well, what do you mean? It's like, so we've had these conversations with it. It's like, no, there's money in the bank. The accountant says, I have money in the bank. Well, that's not the real thing, right? So we create a P&L. We look at the profitability. And one of our clients had an 800% marketing budget. She was spending 800 times the amount of money.
Wow.
For what she was bringing in. And I went, do you know you're spending 800? Oh no, my CFO told me that, and the CFO, I went through a P&L with the CFO. I said, can I be honest with you? Do you know what a P&L is? I don't. I said, you're the CFO. You have no finance background? No. I just know numbers, and I pay invoices, and I do these things, but can you teach me how to, I said, well, let's break this down, right? Let's break this down as to what you're really spending. Find out that they're not making money at all, and they're losing money. But they're great at getting people to fund them, right? So there's all this fresh money coming in all the time because the idea is good, but there's fresh money coming in all the time. So they don't think that there's an issue, right? So that's part of that whole thing. It's not
profitable.
So our process is we build a business development plan. Then the next step is we say, what is the priorities? Is it people part of it? Is it sales part of it? Is it a marketing part of it? So we take all those components and then we start breaking those down and then building systems on each one of those things. If it's a tech piece, we do a tech piece. If it's a funding piece, we work on a funding program, right? And then how do we get more funding? How do we link them to a banking system, diluted and non-diluted funding? Walk them through all that. Is there grants available? So then we kind of put them through that whole process and say, okay, here's how you get to the end of it. And then, ideally, we don't want to be a marketing consulting company for life. That's not our job. That's Deloitte and those guys to do that shit and then own you forever. We want to be with you for 3 to 6 months. Then go get your shit done. Go make some money. You run into now you want to expand, or you're running into a bigger problem, or you want to do something different, or go to the next level. Then we're here to help you again, right? But literally, just want you to go out and run at one point and just because we want to set you up for success for your own self, right? Build teams, which we will also do. We'll hire a CFO, we'll hire a chief operating officer, we hire salespeople. We do all that stuff for them to and again, build them all the tools that they can do it for themselves after that. Right?
Teach them to fish, per se.
Correct.
So they can continue to run the business after.
Exactly. Right. So, and then they have all the infrastructure. And then at one point, if they want executive coaching, where I will do some of that coaching for them, and say, these are just like monthly tune-ups, like which I like to call. Just say, hey, how's business going? Tell me what's going on. What is the stress? Because, as a CEO, you got your family that's worried about you. You got your business to worry about. You got your family worry. You got kids to worry about. You got everything to worry about.
Health.
But health to worry about, because now you're not spending. You're not eating healthy. You're doing all those things, but you have nobody to go to face those problems, because you can't tell that to your partner, because they own them all the time, right? And I'll tell you a funny story, is that one of the first jobs I got out of university was a sales job, right? Didn't know anything about sales, and he said, this guy, Richard Tripp, said to me very simply, he goes, Mo, don't let your wife be on the roller coaster with you on sales. On a good day, come home with the same attitude. On a bad day, come home with the same attitude. Because they ride the roller coaster with you. So if you're telling them all about your business, that, oh, we had a great day, now they're riding with you. Or you have a bad day. Now guess what happened? When you went to work, you solved the problems. Let's say your wife who now owns this thing, she has no idea that you have solved the problem, but now she's worried about it all day. It's like, I wonder if Ryan solved this problem. I wonder how he's doing. Oh, I feel so bad. Well, you have fixed the problem and you've moved on.
Yeah.
right? But she still owns that baggage.
That's a really good point.
Right. So now you come home and go, and the first words are, "Did you fix it?" I said, "What do you mean, fix what?" "You know, you were telling me about yesterday." "Oh yeah, that's done, over and done with." It's like, what do you mean? I've been carrying that monkey for a whole day, and you mean it's done? Yes, it's done. So that's the roller coaster that you don't want to put your family in. So that's what the executive coaching part is, to say, hey, here's some of the challenges that I'm facing. Help me deal with it, right? Not a therapist, but help me deal with it from a CFO, CIO, CEO perspective, right?
Well, behavior and mindset in many things, whether it be sports, business, families, is a big component of success and kind of unlocking, healthy habits per se.
Right.
So can you share with us a story of implementing the solution with one of your clients, or a fond memory that you have?
Yeah, we're in the middle of one of our favorite founders. They're all great founders, but guy's got a great program, great idea, and the success is that we talked to him about the first thing we wanted him to do. He wasn't taking any money in for a year. He's been working on it, paid all his employees, never took a dime in, right? And starting a business. So the first success is said, hey, we're going to put money in your bank for you. First of all, you need to make money. We don't know if this business is viable or not, but you can't do this for free, right? Yeah. So that's the first step. And so then he's like, okay. So then we put like I said, the P&Ls and all the stuff and said, okay, here's where the money's going to come from. And you got to pay yourself. So that was the first demarcation of a great success, and say, okay, now we're picking money. Now let's work on the business part of it and put all the pieces in place, whether it's marketing. So what we did is we literally went through his whole process and said, okay, here's how and we came up with the numbers that he now communicates every week with KPIs with his team, which is my favorite part of it, is every week he talks about what number he has to hit, what are the key measurements for their success and our success.
Well, that's a key piece. I just jump in there. Like communicating the KPIs with your whole team. Yeah. And you mentioned their success and your success. Correct. Like everyone rowing in the same direction.
Way. So they know it's like, if you can knock on X number of doors, this is the reward. And if we turn those into contracts, this is the reward. And this is what we need to make us viable. And they're not all rowing, as you said, your words, on the same way. And that's been the best success, is to put those metrics in place. And he's just engaged, way more engaged, because the other part, back to your question about the CEO, he wants to be the visionary, right? So we're about 6 to 8 months away from hiring a second in command for him, so that he can do all the other stuff, which is schmooze with the clients, do some more sales, and do all that visionary stuff, and be able to expand the brand, right? I said, we can't expand the brand if you're in the engine room every day.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the next demarcation coming up for him, right? So that's how we're going to measure success with him. So that's our favorite story for now, right?
Very cool.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, a saying that you quite often hear in business books and different coaches. If you're inside the bottle, you can't see outside.
Correct.
Right? And so many of us, whether it's business owners or employees or, people, we see our lens of our world.
Correct.
And quite often we need other people to help us to see outside that bottle.
Right. Right, and you're stuck in your own quicksand, right? Sometimes you just go, okay, and somebody is pushing you to say, hey, let's get, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. You know what? You can get out of this. This is not that big of a deal. It's like, okay, we're going to work through this, right?
Even that right there is huge, right? Yeah. Like when you feel just the weight on the world on your shoulders, and you're like, oh, how am I going to do this? You have someone that you can trust that says, you know what? We're going to be okay. Yeah. It might be hard. It's going to take some time, but we'll get through it. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's possible. Perfect. The other thing, do you notice, because everyone's got different strengths and weaknesses. Yeah. Do you find a lot of your clients and business owners focus more on their strengths and not their weaknesses? And that's
100%. 100%. And so part of our process is we actually do a profile with everybody. And I use a profile, and I profile them. And I walk them through their profile and go, okay, these are the things that you love to do. All good things, but here are things that you don't want to do. Right? I'm one of those guys who hates financial statements, hates to have to read them, hates to get into the minutia of details of all that stuff.
You're not alone. There's a lot of people.
But I know that, and I know that I have to sit down and hammer that.
Because you know the value behind it.
I totally know the value, because I do not want to be caught with my pants down. And so that's part of that whole strength and weakness. Say, okay, as a CEO, unfortunately, you're wearing every hat. You cannot have this hat without doing all this stuff. One little interesting story is that one of my executive coaching things I had to, this chief marketing officer hired me to do some coaching for her. And she goes, we're having a bit of a issue with my CEO. I said, would you mind sitting with both of us and solving a problem? I said, sure. What? She goes, I don't want to bias you with the problem, but just have things. And I come up. And the problem is that he wants to the finances is under the finances under CMO, right? And the operations under CMO, and he's the vision guy, right? He does the billion-dollar deals, million-dollar deals, but he's pissed off at some of them, sometimes the finances. So I sat down with him. I said, listen to the story. I said, well, here's the first problem. The CEO has no clue what the finances are.
Yeah, I said, back to those metrics and KPIs.
I said,
alignment.
Finance has to go right to him, right? You can't make these decisions without understanding the finances of that, right? So he's like, yes, finance should totally report to you, right? Because that's where the money is and all that stuff. He goes, well, that's not what I like. She does I understand all that. But if you don't hire the right person, and they'll give you the truth as to what is exactly happening. Now you know what to spend money on. And that wasn't like, so that was part of that whole, it's like, oh, okay. I said, the structure is all wrong, right? She can't be marketing something, spending money on that marketing, being charged the budget for the marketing without having guardrails. You're the guardrails, right? Somebody has to be the guardrails. Like, what are the guardrails? And I know she's wonderful and I know she's doing a good job, but there has to be guardrails. And you can have that monthly meeting with your team that you meet with, right? And say, okay, here's the spend, and here's what you're allowed to spend, and then creating budgets and all that stuff based on that. So that's kind of that story with what
thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
One of the pieces I see a lot when working with families is the alignment back to the vision.
Right. Yes.
Right. So there's a lot of parallels between business and corporations and personal finances.
Right.
And the core, having a clear, we talked about visionary as your CEO.
Yes.
Well, essentially, every person's their own CEO of their life.
Correct.
Right. So how do you unlock what their vision is? And quite often when we talk to an individual the first time and, asking them, what is their vision? Sometimes it's a bit of a deer in the headlights. Well, what do you mean? I want to make money. I want to pay less tax. I want to retire one day. I want to be happy and healthy. Okay, well, where's the vision part of that, right? So then how do you align your actions go forward if you don't have that clear vision?
Right.
Just similar analogy to what you just shared with, CMO and finances reporting back to the CEO and visionary. You need to have that alignment so that everyone understands. Again, going back to that row in the same direction, like you said.
Yeah.
How does what you're doing impact what I'm doing, impacting the ultimate vision?
Correct. And then back to the vision question, the vision should be really clear for you and has to be not some sort of marketing speak.
Exactly.
Right? To me, it just has to be like, this is what I'm all about. This is what you are. This is why I'm in this earth. This is what I'm doing. This is my vision for what I want to do. Yep. And I go, okay, that totally makes sense. But the other ones come up with all these fancy, it's like, I want to do this with all this and all this. And, by saving the world, I will do this and I will do this. It's like, nah, you're not doing any of that shit, right?
Sometimes it's the simplest. Again, keep hot food hot,
exactly.
cold food cold, money in the bank. It's, removing the fancy lingo terminology that every industry, every person likes using. And just kind of like grade 5 language. What do you want to do and why? Like, what is success or your purpose in life type of thing?
So if people can look up some great vision and mission statements and as well as culture statement, the simple about it, like Google's is we're going to map the whole world. That's their goal, is they're going to map the world, right? So every inch of this earth, they're going to have a digital imprint of it. And that is, that's everybody understands it. It's not that complex, right?
But cool. It's motivating. As soon as you say it, you're like, the world is huge.
Yes.
That is, not something you can accomplish in a day.
Correct.
That seems really cool.
Correct. Right. And everybody can align with that vision, right? That's okay. That's what we're here to do, is map the whole world, right? To be able to do that, right? So
very cool.
Yeah.
So for the audience that's listening and they're resonating and saying, hey, I have some of these challenges, like what you're saying, Mo, it seems a lot like me.
Yeah.
What is some things that they should be thinking of? Self-reflection.
So I thought this was a stupid idea. Just to be completely on board, I thought it was a dumb idea when people started doing it, is to create a vision board. I thought it was the stupidest thing people are doing. 3 years ago and 4 years ago, I guess 4 years ago, with COVID, I forget how many years ago is that. I did my first one. And I want everybody to do a little vision board. Very simple. It doesn't have to be fancy. Piece of white Bristol board. Put 4 words on top. Emotionally, physically, intellectually, spiritually. Right? Put an X in the middle and put things that you want to accomplish for the year coming up. Under physically, I want to lose a couple of pounds. Emotionally, I'm going to connect more with my friends. Spiritually, maybe I'll go to church, or I'll read more spiritual books, or I'll do a yoga, and intellectually, I'm going to learn Spanish, right? Yeah. Simple things, but put those on there, and you will see that it is so amazing. And the stupidest ones you put on there, and I tell people to put stupid ones on there. You know, I want to ride the Autobahn at 100 miles an hour, right? Put that shit on there if you want.
Yeah, right? It's important to you.
It's important. Where it belongs. And it does happen. It manifests. And I put that right in my office, right in front of my thing. I don't look at it every day, but I know when I pass it, somehow it's magically drawing me to make things happen. So every year, I would say 90 to 95% of my things get accomplished. And I have got the stupidest ones on there. Then you go, oh my God, you actually accomplished that stupid thing that you wanted to do. And you're doing it, right? So that's the first thing. So one of the things is that just create a little vision board. You know, kids do that, and they're taught in schools to do that now. But it is an excellent tool to do that.
That's a really good point.
Have you done one?
I haven't done a vision board, so maybe I have to go get some Bristol board.
Yeah.
But I spent a lot of time with both business, personal, correct, family on vision, right, and aligning, okay, what is the vision? And yeah, vision, I think it's an important topic because there's no lack of books or movies out there that talk about vision. The Secret being, one of right, the movies that kind of hit yes, it off. But I think for most people, including myself, the first kind of 15 years in business, you're like, yeah, vision's important. Yeah. And you kind of walk by it. Yeah. And like you, mine was probably almost a decade ago now, where I really realized the power of vision. And yes, I'm more analytical and yes, had spreadsheets, and yeah, I have a whiteboard. So maybe it is close to a Bristol yes, board, but I have a huge, 6-foot whiteboard.
Yeah, mine's a whiteboard also.
I map out, the critical things for my main vision of what I want to do over the next 50 years. And then how do I break that down by perfect, the year and the months? Yeah. And like you, it's been amazing to see when you're focused, yeah, or what I often say is when your vision is clear, yeah, your decisions are simple. Correct. Right? And it's that clarity that just helps making each decisions for next day, next week, next month, yeah, all line up to those pieces that you just mentioned that yeah, you want to focus on. Yeah. So yeah, I echo that completely.
And a friend of mine, she did it with her kids. And you should see how beautiful it is because they all brought in magazines.
Oh, nice.
Put like little, so she did the basic paper version and had the kids do all these little things. Said, Daddy wants to do this and Mommy wants to do that. Like it was her. So Mom wants to do these things, and they brought a fish and whatever else, and they made this colorful board. And it was a family experience that they did because it was for Mom, right? It's Mom to and everybody's aligned to your vision. Say, oh, Mom, you really want to do this? You want to climb Mount Everest or whatever it is, right? So,
yeah. Well, and that's the second piece I think that many people miss. Yeah, is you create the vision, and then you got to share the vision.
Correct.
Right? It's not meant to be siloed.
No.
Even the creation part, like
correct,
quite often, again, we need to think outside the box, get outside yeah, the bottle, whatever you want to say. Shit, why are we not talking about partners, yeah, kids, family members, close friends? Yeah. Even if it is like, hey, I want to climb Mount Everest, or I want to be on the moon, or whatever the vision or the goal or the passion is for right, that person. People generally want to help each other.
Correct.
But we can't help each other if we don't know where correct, you're headed and why and where you're going.
Right.
So those two things I think are profound. Yeah. Excellent. Creative vision that you mentioned.
So I got two things. I got you one profound thing, so I'm good. As long as I come up with one good idea to it one day, I'm good.
You had many good ideas. But I think on the closing note, those last two about creating your vision board yep, and then sharing it. Yeah. Great takeaways for the audience to yep, be able to
awesome,
tangibly use right away.
Excellent.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your solution story with us, Mo.
You're welcome.
Before we kind of close up this episode, is there anything else you want to share?
No, just, I think, and again, if you look at the one thing I do want to share is very simple. If you look at, one of my favorite books is called Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. The world's in a better place today than many years ago, right? All this doom and gloom, like the world's in a better place today. So just think about it as we're in a better place today than we have ever been. Crime is down. There's more food available for people. Yes, there's some crap happening all over the world, but we are still in a better place today than we were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, etc. So
it's really full of insight today, Mo. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
Happiness is a decision.
Correct.
As well.
Correct. Excellent. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you so much for all your time and wisdom and sharing. This wraps up this episode of Unstoppable Journeys, discussing solutions to problems to help make your journey unstoppable. Thank you so much, Mo, again.
You're
Have
welcome,
a great
Ryan.
day, everyone.
All right.